entrepreneurship can be very lonely and isolating. And if you don't find your people, it's easy to get in your head in not a good way and start comparing yourself to everybody else, thinking you're not measuring up, thinking you're doing it wrong. And I think one of the beautiful things about getting into a peer group is you realize, oh my gosh, I am just like everyone else.
I'm Amy Porterfield, ex-corporate girl turned CEO of a multi-seven-figure business. But it wasn't all that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the budget, and the time to focus on growing my small but mighty business. Fast forward past many failed attempts and lessons learned, and you'll see the business I have today. One that changes lives and gives me more freedom than I ever thought possible. One that used to only exist as a daydream. I created the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're an ambitious entrepreneur or one in the making who's looking to create a business that makes an impact and a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started.
Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Online Marketing Made Easy. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm excited to give you a behind-the-scenes look into a mastermind weekend with some of the most brilliant female entrepreneurs that I know. I'm going to talk about what we did, what I took away, and how we structured it. And I'm also going to share how to go about creating your own mastermind and a few things to keep in mind if you want to be as productive as possible. So if you haven't done one before, just be sure to hang out until the end because I'm going to share some of my very best tips. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about a mastermind that you create and then people pay you money to sign up for and you're the leader. It's not that kind of mastermind. I'm also not talking about a mastermind where you pay somebody else to be a part of their mastermind. That's a whole other strategy. I love that strategy. I've paid for many masterminds over the years, but this is more of a peer-ran mastermind. And that means that a bunch of us got together and said, we should get together one weekend and do a mastermind. So everyone paid for their own flights, their own hotel, and we just came together for a weekend. So that's what I'm talking about. And I think they're really powerful. So I'm hoping at the end of this shorty episode, you want to create one on your own. Now, I did an episode a while back about female friendships. And one of the things I said in that episode is that you need to show up as the friend that you want. You need to initiate. Don't wait for friends to come to you and invite you to different opportunities. So if you take that episode and this episode, the one major takeaway I want you to get is if you're interested in a peer-ran mastermind, then start it yourself. Initiate it yourself. Get the ball rolling. Group text a few of your friends and saying, hey, do you want to do this? So take the lead. Because if we sit around and wait for things to happen, they're never going to happen. So just wanted to put that out there. So I'm sensitive about name dropping. And at the same time, I want to give credit to the powerhouse women that were in the room. So I decided that I am going to say who was there. We also posted online. It wasn't a secret. We posted pictures from the weekend, but it was Lori Harder, Lindsay Schwartz, Jen Gottlieb, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, Jasmine Starr, Jamie Kern-Lima, and me. And we actually did this last year as well. Most of the same women were there. So our goal is just to do it once a year. And then we try to invite one new woman to the group every time we do it. So that's essentially what it looks like. And we are all friends, but we are strictly business on these trips. It's not a girls' weekend just to have fun, although there's nothing wrong with that. And I probably could use a few of those. We want to take advantage of the minds in the room. And I hate to make comparison to men and women, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. This is not always true, but what I have found in my experience of being a female entrepreneur for 15 years is that I've been in many rooms where I'm the only female and men talk about business differently. And we actually could take a little bit from a page of how they do this. I have noticed that when I'm in a room with a lot of men talking about business, they talk all about business. So they're getting into statistics and conversions and funnels and what kind of business insurance do you use? And what do you think of this contractor? And this is how I did this campaign. This is what I would change. And they're just business, business, business. And a lot of times when I get with female entrepreneurs, there's like 25% business and 75% a lot of talk about personal stuff. Now, I'm kind of very hesitant to say this because some women are listening and they're like, yeah, that's what makes us unique. And we care more than just about the business and our lives are more rounded out. I mean, you could make an argument one way or another. But my argument today is I want women to talk about business more. I want us in the room saying, here's what my conversions are. This is what my numbers look like. You want to dissect my funnel? Let's go. And I want us to be just as powerful as the men talking about business. And I do believe that there should be a time and place for some of the more personal stuff. I do believe that. But I also want to increase the amount of women who feel comfortable and confident to say what they're doing right, to talk about what's working for them, to get into the details of the business, to up level. I want those conversations to be among women even more. And my own experience, yours might be very different, is that it doesn't happen as often as when the guys get together. And I know I'm not alone in this. I've talked to many female entrepreneurs and they agree, but not all of them, of course. So why am I kind of harping on this? To say, and I want to be sensitive about it because I know I'm not the end all be all in my opinion, but we're kind of badasses, us female entrepreneurs. We're doing big things. And I want us to have a bigger voice in entrepreneurship, online business, online marketing. So this was a very strictly business kind of weekend. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always conversations on the side that are personal during lunch or after hours. That always happens, but we got down to business and I loved it. So we arrived at the hotel on a Friday evening, like early evening, and we met for a few hours and then we had dinner. And then of course, Saturday morning, we masterminded all day. Even during lunch, we were doing hot seats. And then we went to dinner, and the conversations at dinner were so freaking good because they're kind of all over the place, but so awesome about business and about different people that are doing cool things. And I loved the expansiveness of the conversations. Now, here's what's interesting. We did not have a meeting room. We didn't get a conference room or we didn't go into someone's room and like use that as our office or whatever. We literally sat in the lobby. We knew that the hotel we were going to, which is the Montage in Laguna Beach, super fancy. We knew that they had really big couches and tables and little nooks. So we would just find a nook and we met. We sat on big couches and it was kind of a little loud at times. It was a little weird when the piano player started, but we just worked through it. It wasn't like extra structured or official in any way, which I thought was really cool. Now, what we did is hot seats. If you're not familiar, hot seats are where you take turns and everyone gets a chance to be in the spotlight and the group spends time discussing you and your business. So whatever it is you want to bring to the table. So everyone got at least 30 minutes and we had a timer and you basically would spend the first, let's say 10 minutes or less explaining what your situation is and where you need help. And then everyone would pour into you. Now, truth be told, everyone probably went over their 30 minutes, and that is fine. When we were deep into the conversations and it was flowing, we just let it go, which I love. But everyone got at least 30 minutes. And then we had side conversations that based on maybe someone's hot seat, we went down a rabbit hole of something really important that it wasn't a hot seat. We just wanted to discuss this topic. And I thought that was really cool as well. So we did that all day Saturday. And then we went to dinner Saturday night. And then Sunday, we got together just for the morning for a few hours. We debriefed about what our biggest takeaways were from the weekend. And then everyone went their separate ways. And I think the Sunday morning debrief is important because we all slept on it. Some people were like, wait, I have a question about this, or one thing I haven't reconciled is this. And then we kind of got to go into it because we had a few hours before everyone had to get on a plane and leave. Now, it was a really great experience. And one of the things I particularly love about this group is that every year, as I mentioned, we invite a special guest. So our special guest happened to be Jamie Kern Lima. And which was really cool about that is her book was coming out literally that Tuesday. So we met on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Her book came out Tuesday. So we were able to pour into her and take fun pictures with her book because we were all promoting her book. We got to talk about some of the stuff she was planning for the book launch. So I love the idea of a special guest so that we are including other women. And so I think that was really fun as well. One of my biggest takeaways from the weekend was something that Jamie had mentioned. And she'd mentioned how incredibly supportive we all are of each other, even though we're in the same niche. Some of us could be considered direct competitors in that group, but we never act like it. Like, let me give you an example. So one of the gals in the group does a lot of live events and she does them very successfully. There was another woman in the group that was doing a live event coming up and she wanted to increase her ticket sales. So the woman who's done a lot of live events literally gave her her entire blueprint of how she gets more people to come to this event, told her exactly what she did, step by step by step, in detail. And Jamie pointed out like, wow, that is so cool that she literally broke down every step. And that was proprietary to how she does events. And it works for her really well. And you could say maybe sharing it could dilute it, doesn't work as well when everyone starts to do it. Or you could say those two kind of have the same audience. So she didn't want to share her secrets, but she didn't. And I do believe that an abundance mentality gets you far. So recently, one of my friends promoted something that was a little bit similar to what I promote. It wasn't exact, it was just similar. And at first I felt a certain way like, oh, is that going to affect my sales? Is it going to be weird because we're really close friends? And I had to take a beat to navigate it in my head. Like I had a lot of thoughts and feelings of lack and of insecurity, but it didn't last long because I thought, wait a second. I really do want to be the kind of entrepreneur that comes from a place of abundance and believes that there's enough room for all of us. And 90% of the time I operate that way, but I'm human and I can get in my head. So I had to like jump back to, wait a second. I know what I believe to my core. There's enough room for all of us and I'm going to support all my friends, even if we're doing similar things. And so I was able to let it go. And I feel like I was 100% in her court when she launched. And so I do believe that abundance mentality has served me well. And when it shows up in masterminds I'm in, I know that I am in definitely the right kind of group. So also what's interesting or important, I should say, about these mastermind groups is that everything is extremely confidential and we really trust each other. So there's some things that were said in the group that I would never repeat anywhere else. On the flip side, I shared some things that I'd really rather people not like just tell everyone, like stuff I'm planning or stuff I'm frustrated with. You got to have a group to go to. I've said it a million times that entrepreneurship can be very lonely and isolating. And if you don't find your people, it's easy to get in your head in not a good way and start comparing yourself to everybody else, thinking you're not measuring up, thinking you're doing it wrong. And I think one of the beautiful things about getting into a peer group is you realize, oh my gosh, I am just like everyone else. They have the same struggles. They are working through the same kind of things. And some of them have overcome things that I really need to overcome. And I'm hoping that they'll give me the secret sauce to do so. And when you're in the right peer group, they will. So I think that these weekends are important and I want to encourage you to plan one and just get together a group of people that you feel comfortable with. And I like the idea of including one new person every time, whether that person stays for the next one or not, I don't know. But I do think including more women is important. I wish I could have 20 women, but I will say the bigger the group gets, the dynamic changes. And I think people are less free to share all the things the bigger the group gets. So we all prefer a small group, but we also want to be inclusive. And so that's just something that we're kind of thinking about and ways to kind of navigate it. But I do like this idea of including someone new every single time we do it. Okay, so one thing I promised you is some tips to make this a great experience. And the reason I think this is important is because unfortunately, I've been in many masterminds where I walked away feeling disappointed or that I didn't get a lot of value, or worse yet, I just wasn't included at the level I was hoping to be. And I felt uncomfortable the whole time. I have definitely been there. Plus, I'm an extra sensitive kind of girl. So it's not hard for me to feel that way. I know it's my fault most of the time, but still, I've walked away from masterminds not feeling great, and I've walked away from others feeling on fire. So how do you create a mastermind with your peers where everyone walks away feeling really supported, taken care of, and with new ideas and strategies to pour into their business? Number one, be mindful of the people that you're inviting. I alluded to this already, but one wrong fit can throw off the entire group. Believe me, I've been there. And that's why we include that special guest every year, but we have this core group that really clicks. Like we know the core group works, and that part is important. Now, I want to be careful to not make people not feel included or leave people out. I'm so sensitive about that, but unfortunately, there's only so many people you want to invite to keep it small. So that's something that, like, I want everyone to get a trophy. I'm that girl, but my husband is very much against that. But I know that that doesn't always serve. So anyway, be mindful of who you invite. The one wrong person could throw off the whole group. Now, speaking of like making sure you've got the right vibes, you want to think about the sort of vibe that you want to create up front and invite people who will fit into that. So remember where I kind of struggled a little in the beginning of this episode to say, this is how I feel, but I feel like I might be attacked for this. I think women should talk about business more and feel comfortable and confident to do so. Well, we kind of made a joke early on, like, are you girls good with strictly business? Now, all of these women are like, hell yeah, bring it on. This is where I want to be. But I've also been in groups where the women didn't want to talk about business and they wanted to connect with each other. And I know the importance of that. And I know I need to actually do that more. So setting the right vibe and making sure everyone is bought into that. We literally had a group text about, are we cool that we're going here to talk business? And everyone was on the same page. If someone didn't like that, then that's when they could speak up. We were just fortunate that everyone was on the same page. Number two, make sure everybody is cool with the structure. So in our case, we knew we wanted to do hot seats. So in the group text before we all met, is everyone cool with doing hot seats? We'll do 30 minutes and then we can have some side conversations if we want. Everyone was great. So make sure everyone is cool with the structure before you actually get there. And then number three, let everyone know that it's a safe place and have everybody agree. We agree that we do not talk about personal situations that come out of this meeting, and we don't share anything that people don't want you to share. And so I think that part is really important. And I want to be someone that my friends can trust. So I wouldn't ever talk about anything that's sensitive or personal that came up in those conversations, but make sure that everyone agrees with that and feels the same way. And I think that one's pretty easy when you have the right type of people in the group. So there you have it. That's behind the scenes of one of my entrepreneurial mastermind weekends and some of the tips to make it great. I really did this episode to, one, encourage the women out there to feel more confident and free to talk about the business more. It doesn't have to be your whole identity. It doesn't have to be your whole life. But I have noticed that I think we need to give ourselves permission to lean into that a little bit more in the right settings, of course. And then number two, this goes beyond just the female entrepreneurs. Anybody listening to this, I want to encourage you to put together a peer mastermind. And if you do so, will you let me know in a DM on Instagram? That's where I usually can see most of my DMs. And so I want you to come over to Amy Porterfield. I'm just at Amy Porterfield on Instagram. Send me a DM and let me know if you're going to plan one of these and any thoughts that come up related to this episode. I would love to hear. It's time, my friend. It's time to get into a peer mastermind and make sure you get the support that you need and give yourself the opportunity to add value to those that need it as well. I hope you found this episode valuable, and I can't wait to see you on Thursday for more entrepreneurial goodness. Same time, same place. Bye for now.